This is The Weekly Set, an official podcast of TheTotalScreen.com.
I wish I was the monster you think I am.
You have come here to beseech me?
Can't ask for your soul.
Madness can be a medicine for the modern world.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Weekly Set, the official podcast of The Total Screen. I am your host. My name is Tyson, and joining me today, as always, is my partner in crime here at The Total Screen, William Rohrig.
Hello.
This is episode 257. We are recording on June 1st, 2020, which means that the podcast should be up sometime in June 2053 at my current pace of editing the show. No, I'll try to have this up before we record next week. So that's my goal. But anyways, today we're going to be talking about Amazon's series Upload. This is from Greg Daniels, the creator of The Office in the US version of The Office. And yeah, it's his show, and I kind of compare it to like a light-hearted take on basically like 10 different themes that have been brought up in like Black Mirror.
10 different.
Like you could seriously, like, you could go like, oh, that's from 15 Million Merits, that's from San Junipero, that's from, oh God, what was the episode called where they had all the social ratings? The one that had like Bryce Dallas Howard in it?
I know what you're talking about, but I can't think right now. So. Yeah,
you could basically go like, this is from this, this is from this, this is from this, and then they hodgepodged it all into like a series, like it's not like an episodic thing like Black Mirror, where it's like an anthology where each thing is its own story. They made like one connected world of it, but then they did like the tone is really light. And my guess is, because we've already talked about this, Will did not like this show. Well, we're going to expand on that in just a second, but my guess is that part of the reason he didn't like it is because of the tonal disconnect, that I'm going to see if that is the case right now. Will, what are your primary issues with the series before we dive into like more specific ones?
Well, the primary issue with the series is it's a bad paint by numbers rom-com. That's
so
it.
You just thought it was kind of like a weak generic kind of thing.
Yeah, it's very generic. It's like very tropey, like Hallmark, like romance, like thing, like where, so basically all the tropes are there, right? So you got like the handsome, charming, good-looking guy, and then you have like the quirky girl who's like totally out of his league, but she sees him and it's like, she has to have this guy, and he falls in love with her because of her quirky charm, because she's not like the other girls. And I'm just like, seriously, are we going with this? There's a lot more interesting things you can do with this premise. But I guess we're going with this. And then like it's so weird. It like nothing basically happens. Like they have moments, but like they're so small. But by the end of like the last episode, it's like they've been dating for years because the stakes suddenly become like so dramatically like high for no reason. And I'm just like, what? What is this? What's happening?
That's the tone thing I was pointing out. Like, it's got a really weird tone where like it'll have things happen. I mean, like you say, like nothing really happens. I think a lot happens. It's just that it's brushed off like it's not a big deal. And it's like, wait a minute here. Well, did his girlfriend just threaten to erase him? What the fuck? That's dark. And then it's just kind of like slipped away like it's nothing.
Right. Yeah. No, I understand that, but it's like the thing is, if you're going to do like a romance, you have to like feel like an emotional connection between the characters. They have to have chemistry and like some connection, and you have to like buy into that connection. And I don't think they do a good job of establishing those beats in this. Like you say, yeah, like I guess like your example is a good example where like that was a really dark moment. It's brushed off. It feels like a lot of like the emotional beats are like brushed aside, and it's not like you don't get a chance chance to, like, I don't know, feel whatever the characters are supposed to be feeling. And so it really feels like, I don't know, it's like, it feels like, first of all, like, it feels like Nathan, like, the main hero. It feels like he just exists and this happens. It's like, it doesn't feel like he does much to, like, move any sort of relationship forward, except for just being there and not being, like, an asshole, like, right off the bat. And I'm like, I don't know, it needs more.
See, actually, I can understand that. And a lot of people have talked about the characters being flat and stuff and not interesting. I actually do like Nora, the character of Nora.
I actually do like Nora. I did like Nora for the most part until, like, the ringer went up, the bell went off in my head that, she's like the not like the other girls trope. She's supposed to be the quirky girl that wins the guy. And especially contrasted to Nathan's current, like, girlfriend, or, which is like Ingrid, yeah. Or, like, Karen, really, is her name. She's a Karen, so she's like the typical preppy, popular girl. So she's like the archetype of what the not like the other girls is supposed to be, like everything that's not. Right?
Yeah.
So it's so tropey. I was like, I can't believe it. And it's interesting too, because, like, they run with, like, these tropes and they present them unironically and without any twist or, like, any subversion. Like, they just present them to you like they were, like, brand new. And I'm like, okay, you're not gonna, like, do anything with this? You're just gonna, this is it, huh?
See, I was of, like, two minds when I was watching it. Like, part of me was picking apart every detail and going, like, wait, this is stupid. This is, like, this is a really dark thing that happened. Why are they brushing it off? Like, not just that one moment, but there's, like, tons of really dark moments that are just kind of...
There are actually tons of, that are brushed off to, I guess, to maintain the levity.
Yeah.
Because my impression I got from this is first and foremost supposed to be a rom-com. And so kind of like anything that would darken the mood is kind of treated, like, is kind of presented with, like, a party popper or something, so you don't get too sad about it.
Yeah.
Because they really want you focused on the rom-com aspect and not get bogged down with thinking about, like, the implications of Nathan being deleted.
Yeah. See, that's the thing though, is, like, that was one part of me that was, like, dissecting every little bit and going, this is just bad. Another part of me was watching it and just kind of almost enjoying that they were doing that it was just, like, weird that they were able to do, like, the tones of these Black Mirror episodes and do it as, like, a kind of comedy. And that kind of, like, part of me liked that.
Okay, I think that's just the Black Mirror enthusiast in you, really.
No, because it wasn't good like Black Mirror. Like, it wasn't touching on commentary in a really interesting way. It
doesn't. Yeah, exactly.
But that's the thing, is, like, but the fact that it just kind of had a world in which all of these things kind of existed was, like, amusing to me. So, like, on a different level, it was funny to me. So, like, I thought, and this is the way kind of I've described it to some people where we've talked about whether it's good or not, is, like, I thought the series was fun in, like, a really weird way. And that's why I ended up liking the show. Like, it's all the flaws you're talking about. I'm not disputing any of those. Like, I 100% agree. But, like, I still enjoyed it somehow. I just thought it was weirdly fun. Like, it's very breezy.
It is very breezy. It is.
You could watch, like, 3 or 4 episodes without even, like, noticing the time go by. Cause it's, like, just goes by, And there are, like, little fun hits here and there. And just, like, little weird moments, that are kind of, like, just fun.
Yeah, there are, like, little weird moments. There are, like, some jokes. Some jokes were, like, funny, but, like, I felt the humor got, like, really stale, like, halfway into it, because, like, they keep making the same jokes, like, almost, like, over and over again. And it's kind of like, yeah, that was funny it was funny the first time you mashed 2 corporate names into, like, one product. And I was like, haha, yes, corporatism. And then you kept doing it. And it's just like, it's not funny anymore. Why come up with new material?
I think it was still funny. It just wasn't clever anymore.
Right.
It was funny on like a real base, like primitive way, you know?
Yeah.
Like, because it wasn't just like two random brands. It was like, how can we find two brands that have absolutely nothing in common?
Well, yeah.
And those are the ones that got paired up, you know, like just so weirdly. And so to me, it felt like, you know, when you're like riffing with a friend or something and you're kind of joking back and forth and your jokes aren't clever at a certain point. You're just riffing back and forth. Right. That's kind of what it felt like to me. Two people were riffing in front of me or something.
Because there's no real commentary with that. It's
no.
stupid.
There's nothing clever.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's stupid, but it was funny still to me. Like I still thought it was, every time they do another one, it was like, oh, these two companies. I'm like, oh, that's funny, you know? But it's stupid funny, you know? It's just like, I don't know. Like a fart.
In fact, yeah. And that's another thing that's weird about this is like, it almost like wants to say something, but then like shies away from actually saying something at like the last minute or something. Like it do things like put, you know, one of the Koch brothers, you know, the dead Koch brother in like their fictional afterlife and make him like a joke character, but doesn't really do anything with that. Like it doesn't really like, there's no scathing satire other than to say, oh, haha, he's a rich jerk.
That's all I think in trying to preserve the kind of breezy pace of the show. Because they did the same thing they did a whole storyline with, the one kid that's like dead there and they had him where he wanted to grow up and he ended up becoming like a woman.
Yeah.
By accident. And they breezed through like all the ramifications of that.
No,
it could have been like a whole arc, you know? And then they breezed through the whole thing like in just like he showed back up and they just like, okay, now we solve it. It's like, it's done.
Yeah, we solved because we gotta get back to our rom-com, you know, we can't be sidetracked.
Yeah. So they breezed through all the ramifications of it and stuff. But then I think like if they had like stayed in on the ramifications of that, if they had focused in on that and that had become like an actual B plot to the series, like I don't know if it would have worked with what they were doing because they're not clever enough to do that.
That brings me to my next point, which is like the side characters aren't really fleshed out, you know, as much as like the main characters, although hilariously I don't think like Nathan's like more fleshed out, but he hilariously doesn't seem to have any real depth to him. It seems like they gave all the depth to Nora because she is supposed to be, I guess she's supposed to be who the viewer is supposed to be identifying with. So they gave her all the depth in the world, and Nathan is like a piece of cardboard, and then the supporting characters are just there. Like, they're there literally to support.
You know what they did? They kind of dropped, like, humor bombs and then just kind of ignored them. And they kind of, like, left it up to the audience to build the humor themselves.
Yes.
So it's like they dropped the bomb of like, you know, they had like Ingrid's grandmother who's like black and white. And then you find out she's kind of like filthy in the afterlife and she hooks up with like Luke or something. And it's like that whole story could be like a really funny story. And it's like they just kind of dropped it as like a bomb where it's like, so just kind of imagine that story in your head.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to address it.
Yeah, we're not going to. It's just something that happens in like 3 minutes. They could devote a whole episode to that, but let's not do that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like they dropped a little bomb and then they abandoned it. And so then, like, they're like, okay, so just kind of imagine that yourself, because we're not going to touch it.
I get the impression, I don't know if this is true, obviously, but I get the impression that this was written to be like a film, to be like a 2-hour like movie, and then that fell through for whatever reason, and Amazon like ordered it, and it had to be fleshed out into like a series. So it had to like be fleshed out a little bit more, and that's why you get these like weird like side stories that go nowhere. Because like he had to like add like more stuff to the plot, I guess. and it just doesn't work.
See, that's the thing is, like, I liked so many things in this show. I just don't, they never really fully came together. Like, you know, like I like the friend Luke, you know, that was like this, military vet that decided to be uploaded because he was paralyzed. I like just how kind of easygoing he is and how he just wants to kind of have fun in there and how he just wants to have a friend. Like, I like those bits of it. I think all those are funny and they go well together, like, as a character, like in an adventure. Like, he could be like a character in like a, you know, in like a, not that actual movie, but like in the tone of like, say, a Hangover movie or something.
Yeah, there's potential there, but he's just the best friend to the main male lead. So
yeah, but that's what I'm trying to say is, like, I enjoy watching a world in which that character exists.
Weirdly enough, like, that relationship is as paper thin as the romance relationship because, like, again, Nathan does nothing.
Oh, it's totally like one-sided. The one guy just wants to have a friend and he thinks Nathan's cool. And that's about as far as it goes.
Yeah. Nathan seems to, like, attract people by existing, which is weird.
But yeah, like, I always just, and I feel like there's just all sorts of like concepts in there that I like, and they're not fully explored, but I just still, the fact that they brought them up, like, it got my imagination going. So maybe that's what I like about the show, is that it kicked off my imagination by, it's almost like a bunch of writer's prompts.
Right. So it got you thinking about some things.
Like, I created my own show in my head, and that's what I'm enjoying.
Yeah, that's what you're, okay, I see. I get it now.
Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Like, cause there's things in there I like I really like, you know?
Another thing I like, hey, it was like the total ridiculousness of like you got the classic TV trope of, you know, TV writers not understanding how technology even works to begin with. Oh God, the last episode is the most egregious example of that I've ever seen. That was just beyond
I can't agree with that because I've seen like the Law and Order episodes that tried to touch on technology and stuff.
That's true, but God, it was so beyond stupid. Like, Nora gives Nathan like basically this magic doodad. It's supposed to let him like fuck with the code in the upload server, which fine, okay, I can accept that much. He can change shit within his own afterlife by messing with the code. Sure, okay, but how the fuck does that suddenly give him the ability to hack random security cameras in the real world and random elevators, like, at will? Like,
so it's not done well, but I can tell you exactly why. He's a coder, you know? So the idea is that she gave him something.
Coders are not God.
No, well, my point is she gave him something, she gave him a tool to help him out, but then they addressed the fact that he was doing a lot more with it than she thought. No, like, she had an interaction with him where she was surprised at how much he was doing with it, you know, like how much he was getting.
Oh yeah, because he was changing like but literally she explained it. It lets you see the code in the upload server. So he can manipulate the code in his server, but that server is not connected to the entire world.
Well, I guess the idea is that it is.
No, it's
that
not.
Like that, because everything is connected. I mean, in our world, everything's connected.
That would not even be like realistic for any reason.
It's not realistic from a security standpoint, but it's realistic that they would be connected. It's just not realistic that the security would be that weak.
Anyway, it's super stupid. And then, oh my God. And like I said, yeah, the emotional beats by the end are completely unearned. The way they escalate it at the end is, it's so weird. Yeah, it's jarring because I just realized, like, it also breaks from the tone of the rest of the, it's such a jarring tone shift from the rest of the series too, because the rest of the series treats everything so light and fluffy. Like, literally, like you said, something as terrifying as Nathan getting deleted is brushed aside. But now all of a sudden, everything is so serious and dramatic. The stakes are like through the roof, you know, we get more.
I'd argue that was done in a comic way too. I mean, the assassin that was chasing her was just a weirdo looking guy.
He was. I'm not even talking about him. Like, I don't have any complaints about that. But like, Nathan finally gets his memories restored, and Nora, like, sees, like, one memory of Nathan being, like, a jerk and all of a sudden she's like, oh my God, I can't believe you're not perfect. I can never be with you if you're not perfect. What am I going to do? I have to break up with you.
That was forced conflict, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like, what? Oh, I was like, I was like shouting at my TV at that point. I was like, no, bad show.
Oh, that's why
Stop
you got
this.
the cops called on you. Why they came with the white jacket with the really long arms.
I was like, I can't believe I'm watching this. I was like, oh no, this is bad. I was like, I was done.
So let's change up the pace. Tell me something you liked about the show.
Okay, I liked the basic premise of the idea of a guy dying and like getting uploaded into like a virtual afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is a fun premise. That is a premise that you can really do things with. They don't really take full advantage of it in this show, unfortunately, but you know, you can do things with that. And I think with some tweaks, this could have been a good show. Maybe not a great show, but like a decent show. I think if they ditched the whole romance like plot, just chuck the romance out the window. That doesn't have to be there. Make the main male hero, more relatable, give him some more depth to him, don't make him an object, once you ditch the romance, then he doesn't have to be the object of somebody's affection. He can just be like a normal human being. Do that, give him some quirks, some flaws. You can keep Nora basically the same as she is. That's fine. She could be like the buddy. And then, like, flesh out the side characters some more, give them more to do, actually, like, do entire episodes with these people and let them have, like, their own adventures, make them just as important as our leads. And then I think from there, then you kind of got Stu going, and you can, and punch up the comedy, smarten up the comedy, like do, like, some more social commentary. It's not difficult. There was some of that in this. There needs to be more, it needs to be more potent. And I think you got something there.
Mm-hmm. I liked the world and the limitations of the world. Like, I like that we're led into the idea of like, oh, it's a digital afterlife. So our first assumption is like, oh, it's like a digital heaven. And it's like, not really, it's like a single location. And it's like,
I could
it's
tell
all the
you
limitations. It's the glitches.
I could tell you one thing I did like the commentary where like you're constantly like being nickeled and dimed, like everything's
microtransactions,
like microtransactions
and ads.
And ads. I thought that was funny. I was like, yeah, they would totally do that. Like, and
like
that
the
does
gigabyte plan, the gigabyte plan or whatever.
No, that was like a little over dramatic, I thought. But it was like, but I get it. And it's like, I thought, like that would, like, it wouldn't exactly be heaven because like you'd basically exist at the whims of a corporation.
There were a lot of like video game bits in there, like the idea that, you see like a small amount of people, even though there's so many people in that hotel, and they explain that as like, it's kind of like servers and like an MMO or something, where you'll have like a bunch of people running around in this town, except, they're in different servers. So it is like one big world, but it isn't, like if you're not on the same server as somebody, then you could run right through them and you won't see each other because you're in different servers playing the same game, And that's how it keeps like the number of people down. Because if you think about it, like a new expansion comes out for World of Warcraft and there's 50 million people playing in one area, it wouldn't make sense. Like it wouldn't work, And so they kind of addressed that a bit, and they kind of had like a server thing. They explained that with the hotel, showing that like, oh, well, you're on this server, you're on this part, this is happening, but you can't see everybody else because they're in their own iteration of it, their own server iteration. And so they had things like that and like little glitches and things with, when things got overloaded that I thought was like interesting. Like I thought they did a lot to kind of establish the bounds of the world that I liked, even if they didn't like address it with the characters,
Yeah, that makes sense. Those were also like probably the best parts too, in my opinion. I just wish like everything else could have been interesting.
See, that's the thing is, like, I think I was able to kind of let go of it. I think where we differed is that when I was watching it, I was put off so much in the first episode by, like, the way the tone just ignored any of the darker aspects or just kind of pushed them aside that, like, my expectations just kind of died. And then it just became something I was watching for fun, like mindless fun. And I was enjoying all those aspects of the world.
Okay, and from that perspective, I can totally understand where you're coming from. Then yes.
Yeah. Like I didn't care so much about the romance. I cared about the, Nora as a character. I didn't really care about the romance between the characters though. And all I cared about was the world and some of the background characters that we weren't really getting that much of.
Right, yeah, exactly. Same. I did not care about the main plot whatsoever. I didn't care so much about the main characters. It's just the world and some of the background characters. Like obviously, I didn't care for Nathan's girlfriend. I thought she was obviously she was terrible, but that was by design.
Yeah.
And but like some of the side characters, like Nathan's best friend and like the kid. I thought more so Nathan's best friend. I had a hard time caring about anybody else, to be honest. I just thought there was like potential there that they didn't explore.
Yeah, I could see that. Definitely. But that's pretty much it. So that's Upload on Amazon. I enjoyed it as just kind of a fun series that just was weirdly tone-wise and didn't really have like a strong thread throughout it, but was still like a fun show to watch. Will kind of saw it as a disaster, I believe. A disaster of good concepts poorly executed.
Yeah, I saw it as just good concepts pasted over a bad rom-com that didn't need to happen.
But that's it. So yeah, next week we're going to be talking about I Am Not Okay With This. This is a Netflix series, came out, I don't know, maybe half a year ago, maybe a little bit more. And yeah, so I'm excited to talk about that with Will. I've already seen it. He hasn't watched it yet, so he's going to get through it in time for next week's episode. But until then, here's what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. We're recording this on June 1st. On June 2nd, though, Dirty John, the Betty Broderick story comes to USA. Max comes to Hulu. Fuller House returns for its final episodes on Netflix. On Thursday, June 4th, In My Skin comes to Hulu. On Friday, June 5th, Trackers comes to Cinemax. On Monday, June 8th, LA's Finest, Spectrum. On Wednesday, June 11th, The Bold Type comes to Freeform. On Friday, June 12th, Crossing Swords comes to Hulu. And on Sunday, June 14th, Grantchester comes to PBS. So yeah, that's it. That's what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. Until then, I'm at Tyson Gifford on Twitter. Will is at Voxel Hero. You can check out our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, as well as our site, thetotalscreen.com. You can subscribe to the podcast through any major podcast client like iTunes or Pocket Cast, and the entire backlog of our podcast is available on our YouTube channel. Thank you for listening. Good night.
Good night.
If you would like to reach out to us and make a comment, send an email to contact@thetotalscreen.com. Stay tuned to The Total Screen for the very best in genre television.